Now,
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Well, Swifties rejoice. Taylor Swift has been named Time Magazine's Person of the Year, and we'll give you all the details coming up in just about 10 minutes. You know, you got to be careful with the Swifties out there, Julie Gunlock. They take this stuff very personally.
They do.
They are devoted. It's cult-like. I dated a girl once before I married Meredith who was a Swiftie. I criticized Taylor Swift gently. I just said, and you know what she said to me? We are never, ever, ever getting back together.
Oh, she broke up with you?
Yeah. I'm quoting a Taylor Swift song.
God, sorry. I don't really listen. I'm sorry. I have boys.
Come on, that was a great one.
That was a great line.
You know what? Joining us right now is, by the way, a lot of people don't know this. Tom Bevan, huge Swiftie. Big time. He didn't even know anything about the NFL.
Tom just hung up
until Taylor Swift introduced him to the game, thanks to her Herculean efforts to try to raise the NFL out of its doldrums.
Notice Tom hasn't said anything
Not
yet.
a damn thing. Tom Bevan, Real Clear Politics. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be with you.
You didn't see this one coming? Did you do a poll on the Time Person of the Year? How did Taylor?
Are you surprised?
Have not done that. Not really surprised. No, she had a big year.
Oh God, Tom's ready to talk about it.
Let's
can talk about it.
Tonight, Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, and Chris Christie will be facing off in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. But Tom Bevan, based on the latest polls, they're aggregated by Real Clear Politics. Does any of this matter, honestly, given the lead that Donald Trump now has?
Listen, we're 40 days from the first vote in Iowa, and obviously, if you look at the national polls, which is we've had a lot of national polls showing Trump's lead, solid in the 50-point range, 40 to 50. He's up 48.1 in our average. But we don't have a national election. We have a state-by-state race, and we don't have as much info about Iowa. His lead there is about almost 30 points in our Real Clear Politics average. That's 3 polls. One of them was taken at the end of October, one in the beginning of November, one mid-November. So, perhaps there's been some movement there that, has not registered yet. I suspect after the first of the year, we'll have a flurry of polls, including a final Des Moines Register poll. It'll give us a better sense of things. I mean, does it matter? It's hard to say. I mean, you could make the case that if either Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley, he's at 17 points in Iowa, she's at 14 points, if they seriously overperform, like double their average, get to about 35% or so, and Trump underperforms his poll numbers, he's at 47, so say he's at, say he goes to 40, and either DeSantis or Haley get within, single digits, let's just say, of Donald Trump, then you've got a narrative that one of them can take into New Hampshire to say, listen, there is this appetite. Trump is vulnerable, as we suspected. He's underperforming. There are voters out here who want someone other than Trump, and they want me. And, they can take that momentum. It's a narrative, by the way, that the media is going to love, because the media wants a horse race here, into New Hampshire. Now, that narrative would probably be stronger for Nikki Haley because she's currently in second place in New Hampshire. Ron DeSantis is in fifth place. But we'll see what – and the problem is that with both of them in Iowa, they both kind of overperform a little bit, and Trump wins by 20. Neither one of them are going to be able to make that case. So they're kind of canceling each other out a little bit.
Gotcha.
So and they're both going to certainly be in until the vote in Iowa. So it's going to be tough.
Do you think Haley is, Haley recently got the endorsement of the Kochs, and there's been a few other sort of more establishment Republicans that have backed Haley, and she just had a video go viral. This is actually an old interview a couple months ago that she did where she talked about, the legal structure should be out of the transgender issue, and it should be a parent's decision of whether to get their child what they call gender-affirming care, and it's not going over well. And it really is one of these kind of I think a lot of people see it as a sort of mealy-mouthed response. Do you think that kind of stuff hurts her? Is she going to sort of go to the right, or is she going to continue to go in this sort of more moderate tone in her messaging?
I think she's well, you're right. I mean, look, Nikki Haley's she's not really courting Trump voters. I mean, she is sort of almost a throwback to the establishment of the Bush administration in terms of foreign policy, in terms of a lot of things she's doing. So she's not really, and this is Ron DeSantis' problem, is because he's trying to court Trump voters, but he's not really getting very far in doing that. And so, and sort of making the case that he's the guy who could win in a general election setting. So Nikki Haley isn't really courting that. On the other hand, she does have really strong numbers in general election setting, better than DeSantis by far, and even better than Trump. And so I think she does have her eye on being the most electable general election candidate. But you're right. I mean, certainly some of her policies are not in step with the vast majority of rank and file Republicans. So it's a mixed bag for Nikki Haley moving forward. And we'll see how many, again, a lot of this too is like a momentum thing, a media thing. She does have, I mean, she's winning over endorsements, but not all those endorsements. She just had Reid Hoffman, who's a big Democratic donor, gave $250,000 to her PAC.
Yeah.
Does that help her with Republican voters?
Right, yeah.
For Republican voters?
Yeah, I'm not sure for the primary voters, certainly not in Iowa and New Hampshire, I wouldn't think. Speaking of Iowa, Tom, it's been about a month since Governor Kim Reynolds actually decided to jump in. She was going to stay neutral. She decided, no, I'm going to endorse DeSantis, and the DeSantis team said this is going to be a game changer. Has that borne out in the polls from your perspective?
I mean, we haven't had any polls since mid-November, so we're a little bit flying blind. And this is DeSantis' big argument, right? He's got the infrastructure and the political machine of Kim Reynolds. He's got Bob Vanderplatz and the evangelicals. He's visited all 99 counties in Iowa. He's Grassley. He's put in the work. He's put in the effort. And their argument is this is something that is not registering in the polls or hasn't registered yet, but it's going to show up big on Election Day. Is that true? Maybe. I mean, it's certainly an argument that has some validity to it. But that's one of those things like we'll know when we know,
right?
When we see it.
And in the meantime, these debates are still going to go forward because they're trying to they want to make their case. They want to continue to make their case for various reasons, and it should be a lively debate. I'm looking forward to it. The fewer people on the stage, the better, I think. And I think Megyn Kelly will, I think, bring some very interesting perspectives to it. One last question, Tom. Is it hard to poll accurately for a caucus state versus a primary state, considering the extra steps involved in caucusing versus just showing up at some point on Election Day in a primary?
Yeah, a little bit, but I think the pollsters kind of have that down, and certainly, Ann Selzer, who's the Des Moines pollster, has been polling in Iowa for years and years and years, and her track record is very, very good. So I don't look at the Iowa caucuses as being that much more difficult to poll than a straight primary. I mean, in many cases, because at the caucus level you have to reach 10% for viability, and most of these candidates, certainly Trump and DeSantis and Haley, are going to be viable in almost every single precinct. So that isn't so much of an issue for some of the smaller candidates. Yes, and then the question is, where does their support go? So I think you have a little bit more unpredictability, let's say, in terms of the Iowa vote than some of these other votes. But I think the polls a pretty good general representation of where the Republican voting electorate in Iowa stands right now.
All right, Tom. Great to check in with you here. Probably the last time we'll talk before the holidays, so I wish you a great one this December. And, boy, it's going to be game on starting in January. I suspect we'll be talking quite a bit over the course of 2024. Absolutely. Thank you for joining us, and go enjoy your Taylor Swift moment.